Okay, I did not have any of it open, I guess. For some reason I thought I had it. What's up, guys? Glad you are here. So today, we pretty much have all of the effects in. As far as we pretty much have all the effects we need in. We just need to wrap it all up into one cohesive experience now. Because right now, like, I can make the birds fly away, and I can make the aura appear, and I can make the trees rip out of the ground. But it doesn't all happen in sequence when you're screaming. So if we can get calm, I'll see you later. I've been working on my game for 11 hours and I'm tired. All right, Chesko, no worries, dude. And if you're not in the Discord, Chesko, feel free to join. We got a bunch of people working on games in there, and they're sharing them, and people are playing them and stuff. So it's really cool. But I'll see you later. But yeah, while this opens, let me get the headset set up. But yeah, so we just need to make it a cohesive experience where if I scream, first the dust picks up, and then the ground starts shaking, and then the ground crushes, as opposed to what it is now, which is just a bunch of random events. So let me get this wire here. How you guys doing? You having a good day? Yeah. I guess you guys are all starting, for those of you who are younger, I guess you're all starting summer soon. So that'll be fun. It's a good time to learn to make games. You have all the time in the world, you know? Let me just turn this into a rift real quick. Okay. Okay, very cool. Yeah, so yesterday we were working on trees. We're working on these trees, and I needed them to be an amount of trees that the quest could handle, but that it would still look good, I guess, and I thought this looked pretty good for what it was. We'll never be able to get in a crazy dense forest, which is not necessarily true. We can actually, if we wanted to, we could actually, like, take a picture of this tree, basically, and then use pictures of a tree instead of the full geometry tree that we have here. So I'm being a little wasteful, and maybe we will have to make that optimization if I check right here and we're like massively over budget. Let's see. So we're sitting about 120, 131. And so we might be a little bit over budget. We might have to do the picture thing, but for right now I'm not going to worry too much about it. And the batches are at 280, but I don't actually think that's accurate because it does not reflect the dynamic, the SRP batcher. Yeah, so batches are actually at about 100, which is good because that's about what we were looking for. Okay, cool. And let's see here. I don't know if I ever made these trees, the materials on them. I don't know if I ever optimized them. So let me go to this tree. Let me open this up. Enable GPU instancing. Cool. And what about this? I don't know if this even enable GPU instancing on that. And I don't actually know if that's going to help us, but let's check if it does. Remember, it was sitting at about 100. And I think most of those draw calls are coming from these trees, which is surprising me a little bit because the trees should be batching. And basically when you batch, it just takes like 5 of these draw calls and makes them 1 instead. Okay, so it looks like it made all the difference in the world actually. So the fact that GPU instancing was not enabled was causing these branches to be rendered one by one, as opposed to rendering them all at the same time. And when I say that, I mean basically, at some point your CPU needs to send off data to the GPU, which does what you see on the screen, for it to be rendered. Now it can do that one at a time. It can say like, okay, do this tree, now do this tree, now do this tree. Or it can do a bunch of them at one time. And as you can imagine, that saves a bunch of load. So it can say like, yeah, do these 10 trees right here, draw all of those. Now do these 10 trees over here. Instead of just one, this one, this one, this one. It's just obviously faster, right? Even intuitively, that's way faster. So that should be good for us. Okay, so now those are a little more optimized. So let's see, so I guess I did not finish the tree lifting effect necessarily, and I suppose I didn't necessarily finish that. Let's not worry about it. Let's just put them in a row. And if you guys have any questions about that, let me know as well. Ooh, I'm like dehydrated. Power level effects, Dust Bowl flat. So that will start at power level 1. So that's good. And then, so what happens next? The dust will blow. What do we have? What are all the effects we have? Let me write them out so I can sort them real quick. Power levels. Okay. Wind in trees picks up. Dust on flat ground. Ground crushes. Ground crushes. Dust on flat ground. Ground crushes. Wind in trees picks up. Small rocks on the ground start lifting. Earthquake ensues. Sky darkens. And you guys are free to give your opinion as to which of these should come before the other ones. I kind of have an idea in my mind already, but sky darkens, earthquake ensues. I suppose just the more dramatic ones would come later, is what I'm thinking. Aura turns on. Aura turns yellow. So there's actually a lot. There's a lot more power events than when I first made this game. Aura turns on, aura turns yellow, the small rocks, the ground crushes. Dust on the flat ground, wind in the trees picks up. Trees lift off. You lift off. And that might be it. That might be it. I don't know if I'm forgetting anything. Thunderstorm starts. I was forgetting the biggest one. Birds take off. Yeah, I was forgetting a bunch of them. I guess I used to have less in here than I do now. Okay, but I think that is it. So let's see. Okay, so I'm thinking A, this will be up high. This will be up high. Wind and trees will be up high. Crushes will be a little bit lower. Earthquake, sort of medium. Sky darkens, lower. Aura turns on, maybe there. Okay, how does this look to you guys? Well, actually, let me take a look at these ones real quick. I'm a little undecided as to where these birds should be. Clearly, dust would have to happen before the wind in the trees. Birds taking... I feel like this is probably good. So you start, the whole thing is kind of started from the birds being like, oh shit, let's get out of here. Something bad's about to happen. Then the dust starts going and the wind starts going through the trees. Then small rocks start kind of lifting up. And then your aura is like, turns on. Then an earthquake starts happening. Then the sky darkens. And after that, the ground crushes. And let's have the aura turn yellow right after the crush. So it'll be like, and then you'll be like, and it'll, maybe the aura gets a little bigger too. Right after the crush, make aura a little bigger. Thunderstorm starts, the trees start lifting, and then you lift. Fin. Okay, and then it's done. Okay, very cool. So I'm happy with that. I think that should be good. That leaves us at how many power level events? Well, let me just count like a normal person. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We were at 8. And I don't remember. I think I was at 8 on ground crushes. This is basically bundled up in 8. Actually, yeah, but we'll just make it 8 as well. So let's actually go ahead and write. I know this is all a little silly, but it's basically helped me determine which ones are different and which ones happen pretty much at the same time. Earthquake ensues. Sky darkens. Ground crushes. 8. And the reason I'm writing it out is so that I can write 8 here as well, because I want it to happen basically at the same time. Okay, cool. So there's 11 power events. And the way we have this set up is that I can specify the number of power events, and then I kind of plug in scripts to those power events. So it really does not matter to me how many power events we have. I just need to know. It's 8, so let's just make this linear still. Cool, something like that. Okay, very cool. Hey, Jack Tallboys, how are you? Glad you're here. We are currently just making these power level events sequential so that they happen in a row. Okay, cool. And then, so if we look back, birds take off is number 1. Okay, so let's take a look at that. Bird spawner. Go ahead and turn that on. I think I have the script. Just do it at the start. Yeah, I do. So let's get rid of that. Okay, spawn birds, level achieved. Okay, so it's going to be power level 1, and we need the spawn points, which currently are nothing. So let's remake them. Let's go ahead and make that static, by the way. And then let's make these spawn points. And where were those? Because we had these birds. Oh, it was under the birds. Okay, that makes sense. And which way are you actually facing when you start? Okay, cool. So up this channel. The reason the trees are kind of vibrating like that is because they move in the wind, but the editor does not actually run at full frame rate, or it does, but it doesn't do graphical updates at full frame rate. So it'll look a little jittery here, but it'll look good in the game. Let's put this, and what I'm doing now is basically determining where these birds are going to spawn from when they spawn, and I'm just putting them in trees because that makes sense to me. Oh, cool, and let's check that out. No worries, my name. Glad you're here. Okay, so everything... I need to unplug these other power events. Okay, give me 1 second here. When was the tree liftoff? 10. Here it is. Cool. Okay, so the tree liftoff was getting in the way. What else was getting in the way? The little rocks on the ground were getting in the way. It's weird that I'm having trouble finding these things. Here we go. This was getting in the way. What was this one supposed to be? Small rocks left off the ground, number 4. So you see what I'm doing here? I'm basically just telling it what power level they should start on. And then that power level manager script is basically saying like, okay, whoever said they were number 4, you can go now. It's kind of directing them all. So that's interesting. Okay, and then I believe the earthquake is doing the same thing. We can get rid of that. Actually, you know what? Not that it's going to matter anyway, because I turned physics off. And the earthquake was going to start on 6. Okay, and what else was I doing? You having a good day, my name? Did you get any game dev in? This was 2, right? Yeah, 2. Okay. Alright, cool. So let's check this out. Let's see if these birds spawn. I'm having a pretty good day. I've been, I just went out for a walk this morning. Okay, so the birds are actually having graphical issues, which surprises me because they were not the last time. Is Silkworm out on AppLab yet? It is not. No, unfortunately it is not. Oculus is still reviewing it. But yeah, everybody really liked Horizon Zero Dawn, so that's good because I'm sure you'll like it as well. I never really played it, to be honest. I'll probably play the second one though. Okay, so this is a little worrisome because it does work there. Let me put it near the player and see how it looks. And see if it has the same graphical problems. Let's try to determine what this problem is. Oh, dang. Alright, well, I guess you can't hear me fire music, but that's okay, no worries. Where is this bird? Where's this bird that I made? Oh, my bad. It freaking flew away, of course. It's got this move forward script on it. I forgot that they fly forward. I was like, where the heck did this bird go? Okay, so it works there. So then, interestingly, what would the problem be? I see, it's a spawning problem. It probably should be dot game object. I don't know why sometimes you need to do dot game object and sometimes you don't. I find it a little confusing, but that's okay. Okay, so now it should work fine. Still having the problem. I might be jumping ahead a bit, but any ideas after this project, or are you keeping to one at a time? I do have ideas for after this project. I'm not sure which one I'm gonna do yet. I think I might take some time to work on a multiplayer package. That way I can easily add multiplayer to my games. It's a highly requested feature, and honestly, it's something I would like as well. Especially since we're building a community around these games, I think it would be nice if you guys could play together. That might take me a little while. That in itself might be like a month worth of work. So, but I think it would probably be worth it to do. So we'll see. All right, let me do this one more time. How did I write this script? Oh, come on. What is that? Okay, so I need to make more of these. 8, 9, or sorry, 9, 10, 11. Let me take this off because I'm going to have to code this a little bit. Have you heard of that new Zenith game? I have not. Let me look it up. Actually, you know what? I think I have. Level 10 reached. Give me 1 second, though. It's like an MMO, right? Yeah. Okay, so I've seen this. Yeah, I think this looks really cool, actually. There was another MMO, but it wasn't quite as nice looking as perhaps this one is. This one looks like maybe the developers were a little bit more experienced. Which is a bummer for those other people who are trying to do something nice, but it is what it is, I guess. Yeah, this looks fun. Okay. And then we need to set them up here too. Nine, 10, 11. Nine. Sometimes it's not super. Doesn't happen a ton, but sometimes coding can be a little tedious like this. But that's probably just because I didn't set this up correctly. I'm sure I could have set it up in such a way that it would not have required me to increase this when I added more power levels. I probably could have made it in such a way that it was dynamic to the number that I gave it. Like if I told it there was 11, it would just set those up automatically. So that's my fault. No, dude. The questions are nice. It's not distracting me. I'm still getting work done. Yeah. No, yeah, it looks like a... Alright, my name also. Okay, this should have been fixed. Let me check this. Starting at 10. Here we go. I just messed this part up. Okay, now that should be fixed. Okay, cool it is. I'm just thinking real quick. Is it because of the shader? Is it because it's an instanced shader? Let me see. If I add multiple of these birds, is it going to mess it up? Okay, it does. So that should be the problem. Oh, or maybe it was because it wasn't instanced. Because now it looks like it works. So that's actually better for me. Because we wanted it instanced anyway. Okay, cool, and let's check that out in VR. That's pretty cool, I think. Okay, sweet. I might need, you know what? I might need one in that closest tree there. Yeah, let me put one in those close trees. Call this spawn. Ooh. Call that spawn 5. Okay, and let's take a look at it. And for those who just joined, we're just currently working on wrapping all the effects together. So right now we're doing the birds. Oh, you know what? This was set to 4 automatically. And I never set it to 5. Let me take one more look at this. Yeah, that's nice. It's actually really nice to look at in VR, I have to say. It's not like a crazy pump up, but it's like I don't know. It's cool to see the birds fly away like that. Go say. How are things going? They're going very well, actually. We're pretty much way ahead of schedule. I didn't think this game would take me more than 2 weeks, and it's not looking like it'll take me more than like a week and a half, actually. Because we're pretty much, like, the birds are done now. The only question I have is whether or not it's going to be optimized enough to run on the Quest. But we'll test that out and we'll make adjustments accordingly. But let's see, so now we're just going in order and setting these up to happen in the order that they're supposed to. Birds take off is 1. Dust on the flat ground 2. Particle system power event, let me take a look at that. Thinking maybe I just make another one called audio power event. Instead of coupling those scripts, I can just make them separate. So I have one that will turn on a particle system, which is like the dust, the birds, things like that. And then I'm going to make another one, not under management. I'm going to call it audio power event. And we're going to make it a power event, so it'll basically behave. Oh. I guess I accidentally closed the script. So it'll basically behave like the other power events. So let's take a look at it. So there's a level achieved and a level lost. I'm just going to do level achieved, I suppose. We'll probably need these two. Call this play audio. Actually, we don't even need that. Void play audio. And then we'll do audio source pool dot get audio source, or we'll call it a source. We're just trying to play a sound, so we'll get an audio source from the audio source pool. A pool being some place where I can get a bunch of objects. Fun fact, in like first-person shooters and things like that, they pool the bullets, which basically means that when I'm shooting bullets, I don't create a new one each time, then destroy the other one. I create it, shoot it, and then later use the same bullet, put it back in the gun, and shoot it again. And that helps with a lot of optimizations in games. So we're doing the same thing with audio sources, basically pooling the audio source. Okay, cool. So then we'll set a source dot set with SO, and we'll set it with clip SO, and then we'll do, let's see. There is no gameplay besides powering up Kusei. It's mainly just an experience, this one. Get a source.set with SO. Okay, and then a source.play. Let's actually do a source dot transform dot position equals transform dot position. Just in case it's a 3D. Just in case it's a 3D effect. Okay, very cool. We'll call it dust flat sound effect. Put it under here. Give it an audio power event. Set it equal to 2. And then we're going to need to create a scriptable object. And where do scriptable objects even go? I guess they can have their own folder. And we'll call this dust flat. Possible clips will just be 1. Open that up. I guess it's wind gentle. And then the volume will be 1, I suppose. Spatial blend 0, pitch 1, do loop, no spatialize. And I guess it doesn't need to play on awake either. So then we go back into dust. And we'll make it public so that we can set it in the editor. Basically, if this isn't here, you won't be able to set it in editor. So you see that it did not appear earlier, and now it does appear. So now I can drag this in here. So that's nice. And that's kind of congruent with how the code works on the back end. So the real reason things are called public, so that's not like a Unity thing. This is a C# thing. And when something is public, I'm basically saying that from another class, I can, or should I say from another file, I can access this variable. So this variable right here. So if I had an audio clip SO, if I had some audio clip SO, I'd be able to grab clip SO off of it. And maybe we can do like clip. Oh, sorry, it's an audio power event. If we had an audio power event, we can do clip SO. So now we can grab that off of that, basically. And if we didn't have that, if it was like this, now it's going to tell us that it is inaccessible due to its protection level, right? So that's just a way to keep your variables from getting changed somewhere else. So that's nice. But we need it to be public. Okay, very cool. So it's set and it's set to dust flat. Okay, so now audio should play. And now I have that all set up so that later it'll be easy to make this sort of stuff. for the other ones. So let's check that out. Hey, my name, glad you're back. We have just moved on to another power level event. We had made some audio helpers. Okay, let me think. Very cool. So what's power level 3? Small rocks on ground lift up. Okay, cool. And that effect maybe could even use a little bit of work. So you see they start on the ground and they start lifting, so that's all good. I'm thinking maybe they're a little small. Also, what do I even have as the material on them? I should probably make a material for them. So let's see. Art, materials, rocks. We'll call this rock 1, because I don't know if I'm going to make a second one. No specular highlights. No environmental reflections. None of that. Let's make it simple. Does not receive shadows. Let's make it like a gray, like this. So that to me looks like a rock, at least enough like a rock that I think I'm good with that. Okay, very cool. But I think we could probably change up I think we could make it a little more random looking than we currently have. A, by setting this to 0.18 as well. And then B, probably by doubling all of this. So that they're a little bit bigger, just maybe looks a little bit cooler. Okay, cool. Alright, my name, no worries. Yeah, that sounds like a good strategy. I think some people I know some people like to work on games while I'm working on this one. They find it like fun to work alongside me and whatnot. Alright, let's see. So we need to do the wind and trees picks up. So let's go find that material. Tree branches, let's open this up. I think we need one more multiply in here. So we'll move this forward a little bit. Well, let's move all of this forward, just so I have some space to work with. Copy that, paste it, get rid of this, and this, and this. Put that in there. I'll put this here. We need to multiply it by an amplitude called wind strength. Okay, and let's play it. Okay, so you see that there is no wind in the trees right now. That is because the wind strength is 0. Or at least I thought that's why, but it looks like it's messing up. Alright, let's see, what did I mess up here? I don't think I actually messed anything up, so I'm not sure why it's messed up. Let me see. Like if this is 1, interesting. Okay, so the wind is back. Oh, okay, this is interesting. This is very strange, actually. Because we have this, we were outputting it to this. Multiplying this by a number. Multiplying this by a number should not change anything, but it does. Let's make it a slider, just so this is a little easier. Let's make this 0. And make this like, I don't know, 5. And you can even see in the shader it's doing it, but it's not doing it out here for some reason. So that's really strange. And an interesting bug that we need to figure out. Let me do this. Let's see if this fixes it. So it's still messed up. Wow. Okay, this is interesting. What's happening here? It's almost. And for it to even be working down here, for me to see that it's working, and for it to not be working, all right, let's see. So we have time, we add time to the normal vector. We add time to the normal vector, we feed that into noise. That gives a unique noise value depending on the normal vector of the branch, which is basically unique per branch. So they'll all be waving at different speeds. That's why we did that. Then we multiplied that noise value by their normal vector, which is cool. So it gets like a strength of basically blowing. And then we multiplied that by the UV, the Y part of the UV, the XY part of the UV. And so basically it blows more on the tips than it does at the base of the branch. So it'll do this. And then all I'm trying to do is multiply that by another number, which would be the strength. Okay, so it seems like wind strength is just broken for some reason. Um, you know what? You know what it might be? Wind strength might be taken as a name, and Unity just didn't tell me. No, because its reference is something totally different. I think that this is... So you see that no matter what I'm setting this value to here... Where is it? You see that it's working in here. No matter what I'm setting this value to, it's being set to 0 for some reason. Out in the scene, because I'm outputting it to the color. You can see down in the bottom right there that it's black, and that there it's very much white. So interesting. So let's go in there. And first of all, put that back. Well, actually, let's not do that. Let's not do that yet, because we're going to make a new wind strength. We're going to call it wind strength 2, or wind strength branches. We're going to put that here. We're going to click on it. Its default is going to be 1. It is exposed. Very cool. And let's go ahead and plug that in instead and see what and see if we can change that. Let's make it a slider, 0 to 5. So now this one's not working either, and it's set to the default value, which I had made 1. The other one's default value was 0. This one, its default value is 1. This one's 0. So for whatever reason, it's setting it to its default value. This is very much a Unity bug. So this is something wrong with the editor, and now we need to figure out if we can get around it somehow. I guess I'll change the precision to half. Let's make it not exposed. And see what happens. Black. But again, its default value is 1. So you might wonder why it would be black. Still black. Okay. And hey everybody who's joining, we are currently trying to fix a Unity bug. I don't know what override property declaration means. Let me take a look at that. An advanced option to enable explicit control of the shader declaration for this property. Okay, so that didn't seem to help. Maybe let's change this. Let me create another object in here. Let me put branches on it. And now let's mess with the okay, so that works. Let me click on these trees. And let me go in here. Okay, first of all, it's nice to see that that's working perfectly, the wind strength. Or at least more or less it is. Okay, and then, okay, so interesting. If you change that, so if you change the one on the object, if you change the material on the object, it works. If you change the material in the editor, it does not work. Like it could, I guess so. Okay, so why is that? Because maybe. Okay. So at least we've kind of solved it. But I'm still curious as to why this is happening. Because these are the same materials right here. This one, this material I have on it is the same as this material. Or maybe it's not. Maybe it's not because when I created them... I just realized what it is. It's not a Unity bug at all. I just did something stupid. Yeah, it's not the same material. This one's using AST3, lightweight. This one is called branches. Okay, and then... Yeah, just different materials using the same shader. So shaders, these things go on materials. You put them on this. So I had the same shader on two different materials and then was using one and thought I was using the other. So when I was changing the shader values on this, I was like, yeah, I don't know, it's working. But little did I know these were different materials. So it was setting it to the default properties, and that's why that was happening. But nothing crazy there, just using the wrong materials. Okay, cool. So... JPU instancing, very cool. So let me actually go and grab these trees. And put branches on this just in case I'd later. Okay, cool. And then, so it's good that I learned about overriding the material property anyway, because I do want this to be, let's get rid of this. I do want this to be global because it's going to change for every tree. It's not going to change just for one tree. So that's good. Exposed, 0, 5, default, 1. Okay, cool. Get rid of this. Put this back. And now that should be good. So come out here, it defaults to that, and now if I change it, forgot to get rid of this. Let's save it. Okay, so that seems pretty good. It does look like it gets stuck in the middle sometimes, and I do wonder if there's a way to keep that from happening, but I don't think so. Let me think. I wonder if there's any other uniqueness I can put to these branches. So the uniqueness right now is basically on its normal value, which is the arrow pointing away from its surface. So so all these branches have different I guess like planes that make up their surface, so they all have kind of different normal values. So that's kind of the seed for the randomness. I wonder if there's a better way to do it. Because if you look at it like this one and this one, they move very similarly because their normals are very similar. I wonder if I can just multiply this by 1,000. Okay, yeah, I was kind of worried about that. And weirdly, they still look very similar. The idea was that if I multiplied this small difference by 1,000 to make it a really big difference, that it would increase the randomness of it. That does not seem to be the case. Wait a second. I see. And the value that I need to make them unique needs to be unique per branch. It can't be unique per... I'm basically right here just trying to make a unique value per branch. It can't be unique per vertex or per fragment. So that puts an extra constraint on it. That's a little bit tough. All right, for now, let's say it doesn't really matter. And then as far as the getting stuck in the center goes, I'd say that that doesn't matter much either. Okay, very cool. So, wind in trees picks up. So the reason we made that strength value is that we're now going to basically adjust that in a script. So when the wind, basically, so when you hit power level 3, wind is going to start playing, and it's going to ramp the amount of wind in those trees up. So we need to come over here, go into scripts, power levels. Weather changer, wind through trees. Let's take a look at this. Okay, so I was using a wind zone. Now I will not be using that, and I probably won't do the audio either. So let's just do... basically, just get rid of all that. Okay, so for here, we're basically going to do shader dot set float, global float string, but it can also be an ID, and so here we'll do void start. You know, honestly, we're not setting, no, actually, okay. Void start, and we will do shader dot ID, property to ID, string name, and what was it called? Hey Winters, hey CS Fox, glad you guys are here. We're currently trying to make the wind pick up in the trees, as opposed to just always being there. It'll start with no wind and then it'll get windier. So that should be good. We just need to take this wind strength and let's call it wind strength. Very cool, and then let's go back. And we're making an ID for it. And it'll be called int wind strength ID. Cool, and then we'll set that here. So basically we're just getting an ID to that variable so that we don't have to pass it in with a string each time, and that's just a optimizing thing to do. You're just doing it for optimization, let's say that. Okay, so if the level is achieved, let's make it 3. Just so that we can test this initially. Okay, cool. Blah, 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 blah. Wind in trees. We'll add a wind through trees. We'll start it at what power level was it? Wind in the trees, 3. Started at 3. Fade in time. Honestly, I'm not even sure what fade in time is. Okay, yeah, because it was gonna fade in over a certain amount of time. Very cool. What are you working on? Yeah, I'm just working on I don't know if you asked this before I said it, but basically just working on the wind in the trees and making them pick up. So it'll start at... So we'll have the trees, they'll start at 0, there won't be any wind in them, and then it'll go to this, and there'll be some wind in them, and then it'll go to this where there's a ton of wind in them. So, very cool. So let's set it equal to 0. Public float fade in time. Okay, cool. So let's check this out. Let's just make sure that it actually works. So the birds take off, the dust starts. No wind through the trees. Okay, no wind through the trees, fair enough. So if someone powers up, the trees will start moving and the ground cracks. The ground crushes, it doesn't crack. Cracking would be a lot harder than the crushing would be. So it crushes, but yeah, pretty much. And the trees, yeah, they start, basically you're creating wind. So they start blowing in the wind that you're creating. So I just need to make that though. Wind through trees, audio event, power event. Cool, power level start at 3, audio clip SO. So we need to make another scriptable object, blah, 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 to duplicate it. Wind through trees, and we'll call it, do wind in trees, volume 1, spatial blend 0, loop, no spatialize, should be good. Come back to this and set it. Very cool. So now we'll have audio that comes along with it as well, although we'll need to do a little bit of work on that audio, but it should be good. And this wind in trees just did not really work at all. So I'm actually not quite sure what the problem was. Let's see if we can figure it out. Let's do that. Let's copy that. Let's go to the scripts. I think maybe it just needed a underscore in front of it, which is not something normal people would know to have to do, but it's not something normal people would know to have to do. It is, however, something that you used to have to do back when you were actually having to program this instead of just dragging it around as you do now. Power level starts still 3. Let's see. I have a question. I'm thinking about getting into game development. What do you think I should start on for a first project? 2D, 3D, or VR game? So I'll say that 2D is actually not any easier than 3D. You might think that it's easier because it has one less axis to it, right? So 3D has this axis, and this one. 2D does not have this one, so it's just these two. You might think that that makes it easier. I don't actually find that to be the case, personally. So between 2D and 3D, it's up to you. Whether or not it's a VR game really depends on whether or not you have a VR headset that you can actually make it with. And if you have a computer that's good enough to run Oculus Link, if it's an Oculus headset. So let me know if you have a headset, and then I can finish answering that question, my name. This game is going to be awesome when it's released, Ultimate Dragon King. I'm glad you're excited about it, Ultimate Dragon King. I personally think it's going to be pretty funny, too. It's just going to... I don't know. I haven't played anything like it, let's say that. So I really go for novelty in my games more than anything else. Just something you haven't experienced before. Let me do something here. Because this is just horribly annoying. So now that will only happen when it's a build. I have a Mac PC by Apple. And I have a Quest with the link. Okay, very cool. So the Quest link works, like you can play Rift games on your Mac? Is what you're saying? Still not doing it. One second, my name. I see. So you're using it for that. What the heck is happening right now? Okay, all of that stopped working for some reason. Let me see. Okay. And yeah, my name. So I would recommend personally sticking to a non-VR game if you do not have the Oculus Link. The reason for that being... One second here. Okay, and the wind and the trees still did not work. Oh, but those rocks are working, and so is the earthquake, so that's nice. The reason for that being that the reason it's so easy for me to do VR games is because of the link right here. Because when I click play in the Unity editor, it puts it right in the headset. I get to test it out. If I make a new code change, if I come in here and I change something up here, let's put it back though, and then I save it and I come back and I play, I can test it immediately. If you do not have the link, what I would have to do is I'd have to go, okay, I made a code change, let me build, okay, very cool, that looks good, let me build and run. I would wait 3 minutes, and then I would jump in the headset and play it and test it. I've done that before. It's pretty horrible, I have to say. It's a very bad experience. to have to do that. And so having to wait 3 minutes in between each thing you do, especially when you're just starting with game development, is going to be pretty brutal, despite the fact that I know you want to do it. Not saying you can't go for it, I'm just saying it's going to be pretty brutal, as opposed to a game you can make and play instantly. So you might want to learn all the basics of Unity, get like a couple hundred hours in of practice or whatever in just normal Unity stuff, and then you can move to the VR stuff. But even then, I would keep it simple because it's going to be pretty bad. But or tell your parents to get you a PC, but those are impossible to get right now, unfortunately. So let's see. Okay, so let's actually do a little digging here. What would it be called? What do they even call these things? Property from scripts. Okay, so again, it's just saying that it's the name. That's the problem, which is what I thought it was. But let's take a look here. Yeah, it's called Wind Strength. Should be able to set it. And it is global. It's called Wind Strength and it is global. So where does that leave us? Because that's not good. Material properties found in another C buffer than Unity per material wind strength. Maybe let's rename it something else again. Let's call it my wind strength. Okay, and again, it's still saying that it's messed up. So let's save this. Let's see if this gets rid of that. Okay, it does. And let's see, I do not believe that it's going to go well, but let's see. Okay, my wind strength. God, I get so lost in all these windows. Hey, Nutty Saul. Glad you're here. We are currently working on getting the wind in the trees to work, which was working, but now it's setting it up so that when you scream, it starts blowing wind through the trees, as opposed to it just always doing that. Let's see here. Increase the wind strength, it turns it up, very cool. Okay, and then let's go ahead and set this to 1 so that we don't have to wait so long when we get in there. Yeah, so as you can see, it's still not working. So that's... I'm going to head out for today. See you in part 7. Alright, see you, my name. Here, give me 1 second here. I get banned for side quests. I'm getting my own PC. That's awesome, Winters. I'm glad that you are. Oh, it says 6. They're better. CC. Silver available nods. To get a CPU with graphics in it. I mean, it would be easier to do that. I wouldn't do that personally. I mean, let's just take a look at user benchmark. And let's do even a 970 versus Intel Pro HD desktop. It is 427% faster to have even a 970 than it is to have one of the new... Wait, what's an Iris? Okay, never mind. Give me a second. No, okay, cool. I don't know. What's the newest one? What's the best one they have? Okay, it looks like it's up here. I think it's going to be something like this. 310% faster than a 970. That's very old. If you start looking at the newer ones, maybe you get yourself like a... I don't know, what are they? What's good? A 2070? That's old. It's 800% faster. So basically, no, these are not worth it. You do not want to build a computer around that. You won't finally hear while he's live. Hey, Kyoku. Have you been watching it when I'm not live? Or you just keep checking and I'm just never running? I do it 2 to 5 Eastern time, Monday through Friday, so you should know when I'm here. Okay, so it's still not working. So there is something I do not know yet about how shader graph works and how it integrates with the C#, how it integrates with the C# script. But how you doing, Kyoku? You having a good day? I haven't talked to you before, is why I ask. And everyone else in here is real nice, so feel free to make friends in the chat. But let's see, so I'm trying to set the wind strength through script. I'm doing it the way that I used to be able to do it. And you know what, honestly, let's try one where we pass in the... Let's see if there's something wrong with the ID. I don't know, I'm just testing everything. Just testing everything to see if it works. Does not. Okay, well that's good because I honestly did not want that to work because I'd rather use the ID because it's a lot more optimal than passing in a string value every time. So set global shader property from script shader graph. It does work, I just needed to hide the property in the graph's blackboard, not make it exposed. Okay, cool. It's just a quirk of Unity. It cannot be exposed. So hopefully that will work for us. So let's go ahead and click it. We'll make it not exposed. We will save it. Let's click the shader. Let's make sure it's still named the same thing. Okay, now I can't even see it, but let's just assume it's called my wind strength because that's what I've called it here. And then let's run it and see. So that's promising. Okay, very cool. So there we go. And now we can set it. And now you guys probably see what I meant by all that. Where basically, I'm going to fade it in. I'm not going to have it be so jarring like this. And my hand is in my way. But basically it'll be no wind, and then you'll keep screaming, and then wind will pick up in the trees. Sort of like that. So that should be good. Okay, so let's go ahead and set this back to 3. Whew. And let's fade it in. So fade in time. Whew. What's the best way to do this? I just have to write this a lot. I have to write this code a lot, and I'm just wondering if I can write something that I can always use for this. But I don't know. I can't really think of anything that would make sense. Like, preferably it'd be nice to be able to say, like, floats wind strength equals, like, fade in over time, and then maybe I pass it like time, and it just keeps returning me, this value. And it keeps returning me the wind strength like over some amount of time, but that's not really how it works, unfortunately. So let's just go ahead and call like fade in wind, and then let's write this. Okay, very cool. Fade in wind, and basically what this will be a simple 0 to 1 interpolation. Let's see. Fade in wind. Fade in the wind over time. Let's get rid of that, and let's do blah 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 blah. While t is less than or while t is less than 1, float t equals 0. While t is less than 1, and let's just go ahead and copy this basically. So I guess that's the second best thing to do, is just copy the so then here it'll be actually, you know what, there wasn't much to copy, honestly. Times 5, which is going to be the max. All right, so set it equal. We need to make this async. If we're going to use an await keyword inside it, we need to make it async. What I mean is, if we're going to use this, we need to make this function async. So basically what we're saying so far is, okay, create a variable, it's named 0, while that variable is less than 1, keep doing these 3 lines right here, which is basically set the wind strength value, then wait a frame, then wait a frame, then add to that t value. That way it keeps increasing. The reason we do 0 to 1 and then multiply by the amplitude is because it's conceptually simpler. And then at the end here, we'll just do it one more time. And we'll do 1 times 5, which is just 5, but this makes it a little easier. And we'll do float max wind strength equals 5. And so now we'll be able to change this out to our liking up here. Cool. So if we want it to be 5, 4, 3, whatever we want it to be, let's call it 5. And then because it's hidden and doesn't actually matter. So this is what I do as a job currently, Winters. I just make games, essentially. I don't currently have a job at a game studio. I could get one. I do not personally want one. Or at least not right now. Because I'm having fun with this. Okay, very cool. So that should be good. Let's do this instead. Let's have it fade in. And you know what? I actually did not take into account this fade in time. So currently it's going to do it over a second. So if we divide, that should work. Yeah, we got a lot of haze in here. Okay, very cool. So that should work. Let's make the fade in time like over 5 seconds or so. And then realistically, for audio power event, we should do public fade in time, and we'll just set it equal to 1. And then over fade in, we'll do fade in time. Oh. This needs to be a float. Okay, cool. So that should be better for us. Because now we can go into the wind over the trees and make it the same fade in time as the wind in trees, which was 5. So let's check that out. Let's see how that looks. So birds, dust. Okay, so it looks like it actually has its own built-in kind of fade in, that sound. Let's make this like over 10 seconds. And let's do it again. Wish you could make games on Xbox One X, but you can't. Yeah, I don't think they'd let me, unfortunately. They're real sticklers about what can be put on and what can't. Let me test a different amplitude. 5 like looks a little weird. It's almost like, and thank you. I'm glad you guys are liking how it looks. 5 is, I think, exposing the fact that I did not really do a correct wind through the trees. So let's see if 3 is a little bit better. All right, see you, Nutty Saul. Glad you came. Let's take a look at this. Save it. copy this, put it here. Let's make a sine wave. Let's do this. Okay, so now we have that noise and we have the sine wave. Let's do an add. And let's add them together. Which one was this? Let me actually get rid of this. Do a multiply. And let's do the same thing here. That, and then let's do an add. Yeah, here, okay, wait a second. I don't actually think I needed to, I don't think I need to replicate all that. I think I can add them together before the... I think I can add them together here. And then take the output of this into here. And let me basically what I'm trying to do is add a little bit of periodicity to it, I suppose. Like right now it's like so like the wind in the trees, I mean, whereas a sine wave is going to do this perfectly. So I'm thinking that if I add the like this on top of a sine wave, it'll look more like kind of something like this, which I think would be more wind-like than what I currently have. So let's see. The amplitude is probably way too high, I think. Or maybe it's not. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. Okay. Move this forward, slide this bad boy down. Move this guy forward. I think we'll probably have some success with this. The problem is this wind strength value is defaulting at, let's just default it at 1 for now. Okay, and it's gonna need Okay, and it might need its own version of this, I'll say. A little bit like a sine speed. And that sine speed should preferably be faster. Let's call it 3. So obviously that's too crazy, but I think that's just because the amplitude is too high on it. I believe that's just because the amplitude is too high. So let's multiply it by like 0.2. And see what that gets us. Sorry, I'm just trying to get a little randomness in here now. And I was thinking maybe if I... I guess the numbers just get too big too fast on this. Which is going to be a problem if you play the game for too long, but I don't think anyone's going to play it for that long. So I do think that's better, actually. It's still got that little, like... It pretty much worked as I would have anticipated, though, because you see they don't get stuck anymore. It's always moving back and forth at least a little bit, which does make it a little bit periodic looking, like as if it's tiled or something like that. But I think it's better than what it was before. So, all right, Magnus. We'll see ya. I think you probably said that a little while ago, but we'll see you, Magnus. So that's good. So now let's think. I think I'm probably going to need to multiply wind strength. Well, actually, maybe not. So it won't be wind strength, but it'll be something kind of like that. Wind strength multiplied by 0.3, so it should be 0.3. Is it really, does that really make such a big difference? Defaults to 1. This should be the same. 1 multiplied by 0.2 should be the same as 0.2, obviously. I don't know why it looks so different to me. I think it's just, it's going to be a double multiplication. I should probably just make it 0.2 and call it a day, since it looks pretty good. Okay, cool. Let's take a look at it. All right, Winters, I'm glad you're in here for the long haul. We got about an hour left, so. Let's see, no wind in the trees. The wind starts picking up a little bit. So that to me looks way better. Looks way better. I still think that maybe, let's take a look at it. Now we're just doing some look dev. This isn't really like, well, this is a big part of game development, trying to figure out what looks the best. But let's see here. So simple noise, we probably want to multiply that by some sort of value here before we add them together. So let's take it, let's move this back. Going to multiply, let's make it small. Let's move this back even further. Let's move this back. Let's put this in here. Well, let's connect it first, and then let's multiply it. And let's make this, so it would be 1, let's make it like 0.7. Okay, it looks like for some reason that messed it up, but I don't know why it would. All right, cool. We're basically just lowering the effect of and I have to say, I think it would be really cool. So I'd say I'm happy with that, first of all. And let's do a little optimizing here, get rid of these things that we didn't end up needing. Let's put this up here. Let's move this down here so you can see a little bit better. Let's connect this one here and connect this one here so that it looks a little better. Save that. Then what was I gonna say? It would be really, really cool, I think, if the wind strength was determined in part by the volume of the audio effect that's playing for it. I don't necessarily know how to do that. Let me check though. All right, let me check this out. This would be fun to do, I think. So let's see if we can, basically, like, if the sound is like, that the wind should pick up in that moment. I think that would be really cool and really immerse you a little bit better. Wind through trees. So let's go to audio power event and let's do, let me just take a look at this object. asource.clip.get data. Offset samples. Okay, so basically I think what we would need to do is have a float array. We would need to check what time it was at. So this is kind of interesting, actually. We would need to check what time it was at. We would need to find the correct offset based on that time. And then we would need to grab it. And I think the offset is basically just going to be number of channels times the frequency times the time. Because the frequency should be number of samples per second. The time will be in per second, and the channels will be, you know, the number of channels. Does it have a right and a left, or is it just mono? So then basically, let's go into extension methods. And let's see if we can make a get the value get the current value of the audio clip. Public static async public static floats get clip get current clip volume, return. So there's a few things. Let's break this into smaller problems, because there's a few things here that I'm really not sure about, because I haven't done this before. Audio clip. Okay, so if you have an audio clip, it takes in that clip. First of all, let's return clip dot so this is actually going to need to be an audio source. If, let's rename this to a source. If a source dot clip equals null, go ahead and return, because there's no clip on it. Return 0. Otherwise, equals a source dot time. Oh, okay. We don't even need to do the work. It already has it. Playback position and PC samples. Okay, cool. Sample points, time samples, return, what was it? It was... Okay, so there's a little bit of a problem here. It's going to generate garbage. No worries, Winters. No worries at all. I understand you guys got things going on. Okay, cool. So, or that you're doing things, I should say. Okay, so it's going to generate garbage. The quickest way to generate garbage in a function is basically to make an array. So if you say like int equals new int, I don't even think it matters if it's a primitive. If I make an array, which is basically just 30 of these, since I passed in 30. If I make 30 of these, it's going to generate garbage, and garbage is very bad for games, especially on mobile, because garbage collection is going to take a while. So if in this function I'm saying like return a source dot clip dot get data. Okay, looks like you need to fill an array anyway. Okay, cool. So that works out. So we're going to pass in data. Ah, oh, dang it. Okay, this might be harder than I thought. You play any games for fun? I do play. Yeah, I actually play a lot of games. I've been playing. I've been playing 7 Days to Die with a couple friends recently. I've been thinking about streaming the games I'm playing, but they're pretty. I wouldn't even say raunchy people. They're like kind of. I don't know if it would be good for kids' ears. Let's say that. I play Overwatch. 7 Days to Die, Overwatch. I play Rocket League. What else have I been playing? I've actually been replaying the Super Mario Sunshine recently. But I normally try to just play games on the weekends. Hey, Jake. No, he's been here and he heard us. He heard what I said about him. I forgot this was public. Jake is kind of kid friendly, but you should hear the stuff his friend says. It's hardcore. It's almost too much for me, and I'm an adult. Let's see. Okay. So it was almost just that easy. The problem is get data seems to want to get all the data, and I don't want all the data. I just want one sample. So I don't know. Man, that kind of sucks because, okay, so I'm seeing how I can fix this. This is not that bad. But I don't really want to fix it that way because because then I can't keep reusing it. Basically, the idea is like, okay, if it's going to make me get all the data, let me see if I can get... Oh, you know what? I might actually just be able to do this. Huh, okay. This is kind of interesting. Okay, so it looks like every time an audio clip is read, you can pull the data from it. So that is pretty much what I'm looking for. Kind of nicely packaged up for me. So I guess I don't know why I wouldn't use that. The other option I was thinking is that I could get all the data up front. I know I can get where it's reading from, and then I have an array of the data already, so then I just grab that little piece from it and do whatever I was going to do on that. The only problem really being that the way I set this game up, the audio and the wind through the trees are different. So I don't really have access to what the audio is doing in here. That being said, I could just quickly change that. Audio power event. Sorry, not audio power event. No, actually, yeah. Audio power event, play audio. We'll just put play audio in here. If they need to be linked, I'll allow them to be linked. Public, float. Audio clip SO clip SO. Make it public. And then for this one, I'm not going to do a pool. I'm going to do an internal, and I'm going to do audio source. So we just need to change a few things up here for this to work. I'm only doing this because I have the time, by the way, and because I thought it would be fun. For me. I don't know if it's fun for you guys, but it's important to have fun when you're programming. You don't really just want to go through a bunch of mundane stuff. Source equals get component audio source. Cool. And then down here, instead of this, I guess I called it source, so let's just do this. And then let's rename it a source, because that's how you would actually want to name that. All right, so now fade in the wind, and also play audio. And use fade in time as well. Cool. So now those will be linked up by the fade in time as well. So that should be a little nicer for me in general. Okay, cool. And then let's go back here before we forget that we changed that. And I guess let's just get rid of this. This whole project's kind of a mess. And let's put audio source on this. Cool, and then this clip.so will be wind through trees. Okay, cool. So I just basically moved it over from that other script to this script. And then from there, I'm going to want to basically level achieved, clip so.clip dot on, or what was it, data. What was it called? PCM reader callback. Oh, come on. Perhaps they got rid of it, but just didn't mark it in the documentation. Let me just look it up. It might be that perhaps you have to do this. Let me look at something else. Void on audio filter read. Let's test that out. And what does it float data in channels? Yeah, because it looks like you can't just set it. It looks like you have to create something or whatever. That's fine. Well, actually, let me see. Let me look at it just one more time. Yeah, okay. All right, so let's print this out and see if it's working. Jake's name is Blue because he is a mod, Winters. He attained mod status through years of friendship. All right. So let's see, power level. Let's start it at 1 so that we can get to the meat of this real quick. Okay, so it does appear to be working, and it does look like it's going up as it's getting louder, so that's good. What are we doing? Where's the analysis one? Profiler. Problem is it is creating garbage. I don't know which... I don't know who's creating the garbage. Let's see though. Mic input. Oh my goodness, mic input is creating an insane amount of garbage. Alright, well at least it's not this one. So that's good. Okay, so this works. So this way we can get the actual volume of it. So we'll probably want to, in here, basically just go int max volume equals 0 for... I think we can just for each this. All right, come on. For each. For each float sound in data if sound greater than max volume equals sound. Sorry, not an int. It's a float. Okay, cool. And so to understand how that works, basically, I'm getting the maximum value from this. So an array, this is what makes it an array. A float is a number. A float is a number like 0.2, 0.05, 0.7, 4.5, anything like that. A float array is a bunch of those numbers. So that would be basically like both 5.5, 6.7, and 0.04. That's a float array. It has 3 numbers in it, right? So I'm getting passed into this function a float array, so a bunch of numbers, and I want to find out which one of those is the highest. So basically I set a max volume to 0. Then I go, okay, well, for each number in the data that was given to me, if that number is greater than the max volume, which is currently 0, so it probably will be, then set max volume to that number. And so the next time it comes around, let's say it was 2 the first time. Now it's going to say, well, is it greater than 2? And it'll say, oh, it's 1 this time. And it'll say, okay, then don't set it. And next time it'll come around and say, well, is 3 greater than 2? And it'll say, yeah, and it'll set it. So now it's going to be asking if it's greater than 3, then 4. And basically max volume will end up being the maximum number in that list of numbers. So that's cool. So what was I about to do? So I don't think we actually need to fade in the wind now. Don't actually need to fade in the wind, so let's just return out of it, because this filter should be doing it for us. So this will be max volume times wind strength. And I guess I'm hoping that's kind of continuous looking, although it may not be. So we'll see. And then max wind strength, let's set that to something higher, since it appeared to, since this value appears to come in at about 0.2 when it's doing its best. So that should be interesting. So let's see how this goes. Oh yeah, and then mic input. What the heck, mic input? Let me guess, you create a new float. This is what I was saying about garbage. This is classic garbage right here. And it's truly just as simple as, instead of that, I'm going to do float wave data equals new float 128. Cool, and that should solve that problem for us. Hey, Kyle Williams. I don't know if we've had you here before, Kyle. I'm glad you're here. Ooh, something very terrible is happening. On volume retrieved. Huh, interesting. So it looks like maybe... Well, let's do this first of all. Did that cause the problem? I guess is what I'm wondering. Nope, I'm new, but I seen your TikTok and I think it's cool what you're doing and I wanted to support it. Alright, heck yeah, Kal-El. You mean the new one about the lightning and whatnot? I haven't looked at it, so I don't know if it's doing well. I don't know if people are seeing it. Okay, cool. So, okay, so that wasn't the problem. What was the... What is going on here? What's the problem? Okay, very cool. Yeah, I'm glad you liked it. I thought that one was pretty good. I had fun making it, especially when the lightning sound effects roll in and stuff. So currently, Kal-El, I'll tell you, we are... Oh, interesting. Sorry, 1 second. So currently what I'm doing is I'm working on the wind through the trees effect. Oh yeah, so that wasn't in there. But basically, you have these trees, and when you scream long enough, wind is going to start blowing through them so that they kind of are wavy. And what I'm doing now is I'm trying to make it so that the amount of wind blowing through the trees is determined by the sound effect that I'm using to blow the wind through the trees. So that when it blows a little harder, the trees blow a little harder. And this is kind of new to me, so I'm working my way through it. But yeah, that's kind of the whole idea. But yeah, I'm glad you're excited about it. Have you ever considered making games yourself, Kala? All right, let's try this again. And right now we're trying to get rid of this garbage right here, so that number 0.5 kilobytes, we don't like that. And it's gone. Just as simple as that. You'd be surprised how, because I actually got that script from someone else, you'd be surprised how people don't know about garbage. And I don't blame them, because you don't really know that garbage is a complete destroyer of your game's frame rate until you try to release a game. And they're like, it's got to hit 90 frames a second consistently, and you're like, okay, well, let me check what the frame drops were, and it's almost always garbage. Garbage sucks. And garbage, I may have a video on it, but garbage is just generated when you basically create certain types of objects inside a function like this. So there you go. So we'll get rid of that. Well, let's leave it in for now. Okay, cool. So back to this wind through the trees thing. Well, no worries about that. I was just curious. We have all sorts of people who show up here. People who want to watch games get made. People who want to make games themselves. So it's really up to you what you get from the experience. Okay, so basically it's telling us here that we can't set a global shader value inside this special function, which is called all-in-filter-read, because it does not run on the main thread. So when a CPU is doing work, it has multiple threads where it'll do different work on each of those threads. This one runs on a different thread. I need to run it. So basically I'm just going to need to... Can I do this? Can I say like float max without breaking it? Max equals max volume. This might even be a problem, and then we'll again have a problem. We thought we had it solved, but we did not. Okay, cool. Cool, it does not have a problem with that. So then the solution to that is simple. I basically just set the max in there, and then I'm gonna have do void update. And in here, I'm gonna set this. But I'm gonna set it using max. So basically it allows, I can kind of peek into that thread using this value here. That's gonna be set, and then I'm just gonna do this on the thread that I can do it on. So let's see how this goes. I like watching games blow up, and I think this is one of those games. Alright, very cool. I'm glad, Kyle. Yeah, I hope people like it. I really do. I like it. This is for me to learn things from this, and I will make a game when I get a PC. You don't need to wait till you get a PC necessarily, Winters, I'll say. You just need a PC for, like, making really hard, graphically intense games, I guess. I think, okay, so let's get rid of this. Let's click on this. So let's see how this works. Oh, it's horrible. Ah, it's horrible. Ah! It's terrible. Okay, very cool. So that's fair enough. So the reason it looks like that is because the value we're getting is non-continuous. It's a non-continuous value, so let's open this up. So I've explained graphing a couple times. I won't explain it again. But basically, this one created brush, zoom in. Basically, if I'm getting a series of numbers, and when I say a series of numbers, I mean like I get 1, then I get 2, then I get 3, then I get 4. For those values to be continuous means that they would look smooth like this as I'm getting them. Let's say that this, let's say that this denotes 0 and this denotes 10, and so in the middle would be 5, 4. Let's say the graph looks like this. That's continuous. That's nice. It's smooth. Look at it. There's no problems with it. You can have a discontinuous graph if it looks like this. So that's like a real thing that happens in math, is you'll get these kind of discontinuities here. So that's what I'm getting. That's what I'm currently sampling from those values. And that's why it ends up looking so jittery, basically. So if I can get it to be continuous, that would be really cool. Now, that being said, I don't know how to turn a discontinuous graph into a continuous one. I would think there's a couple ways I can think of off the top of my head, and it would basically be using these values to pull a value. So let's say I just had a value, and then I just sample, and I pulled towards that amount by some amount. Let's say I sample down here, then I pull this value down a little bit. Instead of jumping straight to this value, I just pull this one down. And if it's up here, then I pull it up a little. So then it will kind of end up being this continuous. It'll be a little bit maybe less realistic, but I think that would be continuous. Another option, I wonder if there's any filtering options, which would basically mean if I had this continuous graph here, or this discontinuous graph, that I would, instead of just sampling the point that I'm at, I would sample like the last 10. I would sample like the last 10, and I would make them I would sample the last 10 and use that value. That's not going to make it continuous though, I don't believe. So let's do the moving average. Hey Jake Beast, what's up? So let's do a moving average. That should work. Okay. Float moving average. Moving average equals max equals moving average plus, right? This is gonna work, right? I'm still worried it won't for some reason. Plus max minus moving average. So basically the difference in those two times time dot delta time. So then basically I'm just saying make it the you know, make it the moving average. So let's see what that does. And again, this is all unnecessary. We pretty much already had this solved, but I'm just doing this for fun, so. Oh, baby! Always nice when it works out. So now it's continuous, but let me watch it. Let me see if it's actually... You guys wouldn't really be able to tell, unfortunately, but... Oh wow, yeah, it 100% works. This is epic. This is way cooler than it was before. Yeah, so now the volume is tied to the amount that the trees will actually shake. So that's really cool. I still think that I probably need to mess with the... And hopefully you guys understood what I was talking about with these graphs. That's probably all I'm going to keep working, but that's really all I care to get done for today. If anybody has any questions about this math here, feel free to ask and we can go deeper in. I got 20 minutes now that we could go into it, so let's see. Let me get rid of this. What was wrong? It was the max wind strength. So we need this to be higher. Let's make this like 10. And this I can mess with, I guess, a little more on my own time, since this is now just a design variable this is more of a design variable than me actually making something. Yeah, I'll mess with that on my own time, actually. Okay, cool. So now wind is done. So if we look at our to-do, we have all the effects. We're just making them in a row now. Birds take off. We have dust on the ground. We have wind through the trees, and it's linked to the volume. Small rocks on ground. I think we already have that, but let's check on it. Small rocks. Power level 4, which does denote with what we're doing here. Very cool. Aura turns on. Aura. Turn it on. You'll like this, Kal-El. You'll like this a lot. Particle system power event. What was it? 5. So it starts on 5. Base color. Okay. Okay, so it'll start off white. Oh yeah, do I know what Hunter x Hunter is? Yeah, I do. If you can come up with any good Hunter x Hunter games, I will make them next, because I freaking love Hunter x Hunter. I'm gonna make a tile flipping game. Gun flips tile. I'm gonna make a game where all you do is flip tiles. Just the whole time. That's the whole game. Alright. Just flip the tiles. Okay, cool. So let's see here. So So that aura, which... Why did these other ones not start on play? Why is this the only one that starts on play? I see. What is the true I'm passing in there? With children? Okay, cool. I see. So they don't. I was stopping them myself. Okay, so that's number 5. But why do you ask, Winters? Why do you ask about Hunter x Hunter? Okay, so that's number 5, and then that should be good. But I suppose we can check on it. Like Gon's friend. So we're like, Okay, cool. So it looks like it's a little low in the ground. So let's take a look at that. Okay, so that's insanely epic. Okay, and then which one of Gon's friends are you talking about? Oh, Kurapika. Not Kurapika. Killua. Let's see. Yeah, it would be cool. I mean, I do have a thunderstorm. So that's the lightning I have currently, but I don't have any plans for... I mean, yeah, obviously it would be cool if I could get every power-up in there. Currently, we're just doing kind of Dragon Ball Z style, but I agree with you, that'd be cool. If I could have it, like, arc between your hands and whatnot, that'd be really fun. Okay, so that works. Earthquake ensues. I think I already have that. That's number 6. Very cool. Sky darkens. Low thunder rumble starts. Okay, so now we need to figure out the sky darkening. So let's see here. Sorry. Oh, dang, my battery's about to run out. Give me 1 second. Okay, cool. Sky darkening. So basically we have these clouds. Let me go into my player prefab, by the way. Take a look at main camera. Make this, I guess, 10,000. Cool. Save it. Back out. So we have this clouds object. And basically, we're going to change a couple things on the material on it. Basically just the color, the speed, and the density. So we're going to want that to fade over. Yeah, so that'll be really cool right there. Okay, cool. So it starts off with some simple clouds. They're pretty white. It's a nice day out. F-star 2D clouds. Okay. So we need to write a script. Power levels. Darken sky. And it's going to be a power event. Darken the clouds in the sky. Turn the directional light down as well. Darken the clouds in the sky, turn the directional light down as well. Should be good. That would indicate that we need to be able to access a directional light. So we will do light, directional light. And then we basically need a material. Actually, you know what? We might just be able to do a global. Let me think. I guess it's not necessarily global. And it's not per instance either. What's it called? "2D clouds, edit shader." It's got the shader, and it's got these values on it. Color, speed, density. Those are the ones we care about. I don't know that I can set those globally, but let's actually just check real quick. Darken sky. Start shader dot set global. Cloud color. Color dot black. Let's do another one actually. Okay, and let's set this up. Darken sky. Let's close these trees. Let's add the darken sky script we just wrote. Let's take the directional light. We'll put it in there. Then we'll say that it starts on power level 1. And very cool. So when we start it, if that code is going to work, this sky will darken up. Cool, so it did not change those, and that's what I was expecting. I think we're going to need access to its material. So we need, maybe we can just do public material. Cloud mat. I don't know why I did virtual. This should just be abstract. Or honestly, an interface would work as well. Cool. And then now this is going to give us an error. And I will fix it by implementing it. And that's a quick way for me to get these functions in here. So I'd much rather do that than have to go look at the script every time to remember what functions I'm supposed to be doing or overriding. Okay, cool. Level lost won't do anything, and level made will do cloud mat dot, let's call it sky darken. The problem is I can't name it the same thing. Sky darken, or a darkened sky. I guess we can call it darkened sky over time. Let's close this one up because I don't even want to look at it. Darkened sky over time. If anybody has any questions, what if you had, okay, if anybody, blah, blah, blah. Darken the clouds and the light source. Needed objects. Light storm color. Darkened sky over time, very cool. So then, is there like a color.lerp? Cool, there is. Okay, very cool. But we were still just trying to figure out basically how to get the cloud mat dot okay, and what did we need? It was, well, let's just make sure that this works real quick. And again, what was it called? Let's go with density. Okay, so something we'll notice. All right, so let's see if this works. Is this going to be public? What do you mean, is it going to be public? Winters. Okay, cool. So that should all be fixed. Okay, and I never set it because I'm just silly. Okay, so that's not going to work anyway. So what we need is just the game object. Internal, and then it'll be a material cloud mat. And then in here we'll say cloud mat equals clouds dot get component renderer dot material. And let's do shared material. Okay, cool. So that's just another way to get the material off an object. Like, is other people going to be able to play it, and can people play it? Yeah, I mean, it's Winters. It's going to be like all my other games where it's free. And they won't be able to play with each other. No, it's not. This, honestly, is just not a multiplayer game in general. I don't really know what you would do with other people on this one, besides maybe, like, I would have to change a lot of stuff, let's say that, about it. This is just supposed to be a simple experience. And that's kind of why I'm blowing through it as far as the development goes, because of its simplicity. So let's see, clouds. I need to grab the clouds, put it on there. So let's see here. Cool, so that did work. You can see that the clouds are now like that. Awesome, so now we can move forward knowing that we have access to it in that sense. Int color ID, speed ID, density ID. So we're going to get all these things. We're going to get that material, blah, 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 blah. Okay, OG density. Okay, so then we're going to say color ID equals shader. Do I need to do, let's see. Property to ID. And then what was it? Cloud color was the first one. And we need two more. Color ID, speed ID, density ID. I'm pretty sure this one's just speed, and I'm pretty sure this one's just density. Let's check. Speed, density, cool, yeah. And I'm just doing this for my own sake, where when you change a material in the script, it does not change back after you exit the Unity editor. So it would always be, I would always have to go back and change it manually if I did not do this, which I'm going to do in a second here. Void on application quit. And basically, I'll set those there, OG density. Okay, so I set those OGs, and then I need to do I need to copy those, and do this, and basically I need to do this, blah, 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 da, da, cloud mat, and instead of get, it's going to be set. OG color, OG speed, OG density. Cool, so that's just a little boilerplate for my own sake there. Has been achieved, okay, cool. And then, blah, so that's all good. And then so now, there's this darken over time, darken sky over time. So I'm just gonna, I'll probably cut it there now that I know how to do this. Let's see. Okay, cool. Yeah, anyway. So then tomorrow, basically, we'll go in, and there's a few things that need to happen. Over time, you need to play the audio effect that the storm is now starting. You need to decrease the density, which in turn makes the clouds thicker. You need to increase the speed, so now it's like they're blowing, and you need to make the what was I gonna say? And you need to make the color of the clouds darker. And then you also need to take the light source and you need to make that darker as well. And that will basically make it look like a storm has rolled in, at least in a simple sense. So that should be good. And yes, the stream is about to end, Winters. So I, like normal, will be in the Discord in the Make New Friends section for about 30 minutes, probably until 5:30 if you guys want to chat. And other than that, thank you so much for joining. I always appreciate you guys for joining, and hopefully you learned something or were just entertained in some sense. So, all right, I'll see you guys later.